Welcome to Soul, Light, and Body. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
We got such an interesting topic this evening, because many times we get carried away, and when we get carried away, it causes friendships to break up. It causes so many things to happen because we take things real personally. And what a better topic, taking things personally. And we we need to reflect, pause and reflect and look at things because we never know what someone else is going through, and not jump to a conclusion and not judge certain situations. We need to have empathy. Look at a situation from all angles and separate yourself from the feedbacks, and we need to stay curious and remind ourselves it's not about you. Because many times you find that people are going through so much of stuff. They are processing traumas. They are processing some situation or some experiences that they're going through at the point in time. And many times when you're talking to people and they may get furious, it's not about a situation at hand. It's underlying problems that they are facing at that moment. But it triggered them. Or sometimes you may say a word that trigger a whole situation. So that's many times you got to really stay curious and you got to reflect on what the person is really saying. Reflect on what they're saying and reflect on what they're not saying. Because a lot of times there are hidden messages in what a person is saying. So you have to be curious and you always have to be mindful. You have to be mindful of when you're communicating and when you're having a conversation with an individual. And especially at your work environment. Because we are having co-workers together with us. And many times you find that they may say something that may trigger you.
Probably froze.
It looked like she's frozen. Yeah, and that is so true. You're you're good.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
sorry about that. Thank
No,
you,
it's okay.
Joan. And we have to really know our self-worth, our values. Because once you know your self-worth and your value, you can process the information, what the person is saying to you. But this evening we have a returning guest, Dr. Pat, and she's going to help us to understand more about this subject area because we all need to hear what we can do and what we should not be doing. So I'm going to leave that for her. So she's gonna touch deep into this subject area, and she's gonna give us some tools that we can work with to help ourselves if we come up in that kind of situation, how we can really deal with it. And I hope you continue to do your journaling. I hope you continue to pivot, pause, and do some self-reflection on any situation that you may be going through at this point in time. And also take your walks in nature. Once you can do it, just take some beautiful walks in nature. Because when you go in nature, you get a lot of clarity. It gives you a lot of clarity. I'm Karen Pascal, holistic health and wellness coach and a co-author of 2 books with my sister Joan. And it's Your Gut in You and Self-Care is Intentional. And if you have not grabbed a copy, you can go to Amazon. The links are in the notes below, and you can go grab yourself a copy, and you can really understand more about your gut. And the self-care is intentional. you can understand more about so many things about yourself. So I'll now hand the mic over to Joan. Joan, take the mic. Dr. Pat, welcome back in the house.
Thank you very much. I am really glad to be here, and it's been a journey. And I had such a great time last week, being on the show and sharing information, and creating a new trilogy, because there's three of us in the triangle. Sorry, Tommy.
Oh,
And,
I like the trilogy.
yeah.
but it's just like, you don't know your camaraderie. You don't know, your foundation until you start trying to step out from it. And sometimes we don't have the foundation that we think we have, and we don't have the people around us who have our back, and we think we have their back.
That is so
And then
important.
and then they don't, because, it's just like people get caught up in their own crap. And they get up caught and then they realize, like 5 years down the road, and they look back like, oh, wow, that wasn't worth it. So there's some tools that you can use to, stop, pause, think, go out and hug a tree, love a rock, and tell, do random acts of kindness, at least 5 of them a day. That'd be a good start for us too. So I'm really glad to be back here again and be able to share some wisdom as a wise woman of my age.
True.
And I have a lot of stories, and I have a lot of experiences that have led me to, there's just some things that was getting gray hair over.
Well, we're so honored to have you back with us this evening. And last week, your message and how you help us to enlighten us, one for a better word, to fix your health, fix your life. It was so amazing, and it was so profound, because you help us to understand some of the things that we can do if we're looking for longevity and to live a quality life. Because at the end of the day, we have to ask, well, what do we really want? And the things that we are going after, but how do we achieve that? And in order to achieve that, we got to be healthy. And I think all of us can agree on that. We have to be healthy. We got to be strong. We have to move in a level of vitality. And to attain a level of health, be healthy, and the level of vitality, we got to focus on our health. That's one of the things we always talk about here is nourish and nurture. Nourish, you put the quality food in your body because you need the basic nutrients to sustain you. But what about the other aspect of our lives? Our spirituality, our physical activity. Are we moving enough? Are we moving enough? I know, Karen, you mentioned getting out into nature and walk. That's such a good thing. You get inspired with that. You get a level of clarity. You draw in inspiration in those moments that you step outside. The air is so fresh. You can breathe deep, do your deep breaths, and you can just harness that energy that you can receive from that space in that moment. And what about your creativity? Are you enjoying your creativity? Are you tapping into that space that you can light up and get enjoy in whatever that is for you? Are you focusing on pockets of joy daily? Have fun with life. Dance with life. Yes, we got to be serious because we have a lot happening, a lot going on around us. Stop. Pause a minute. Pause. There is power in pause. Do it for you, because you are special and you are amazing and you are unique. So do it for you. Take that time for you, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, whatever that may be for you, that the time that you would allocate to that. Do it for you. Choose you. Because in order to live life, you got to choose you so that you can be strong, that you can be well, and that you can attain all the goals and all the aspiration that you're trying to achieve. There's nothing wrong with trying to achieve, but you want to stay well. You want to have a level of vitality that you can really enjoy on that journey. It's not about a destination. It's about a journey. And how do you take those steps? And how do you advance forward with a level of confidence? Are you tapping into your inner wisdom? Are you turning within And going within is so important, because going within there is where you can draw all those inspiration. You can see all those things that you are impregnated with, and then you can bring it out to the world and share it so we all can enjoy and have that joy. Are you showing yourself love and compassion? Are you celebrating your wins, big or small? Because you know what? You work hard to get there. And so that's why pausing is so important. Stop, pause, celebrate, because you are special. And we want to take this moment to congratulate all of you who are taking those bold moves, even though sometimes you go through fear, rejection, setbacks, but you're saying, no, I am going to push through. I'm going to push forward because I have what it takes within me to achieve that. And gratitude for all the people that supports you, that level you up, that motivate you, that lift you up, that inspire you to take that step so that you can attain and go after that driving force for whatever it is that you want. So tonight, we want to say congratulations to you and keep moving forward because you have what it takes and you are special and you are unique. You have that unique gift within. So keep on going. Go forward. My name is Joan Williams, Holistic Health and Wellness Coach. And tonight we got our returning guest, someone who's special to us, someone who's so amazing. And it's such a true honor, Dr. Pat, which is a coach, a physician. She's a speaker, she's a visionary, thought leader, and so much more amazing book that she has written and so much work she's doing. But she one of the things that Dr. Pat has been doing, she's inspiring people. She's helping people to work through their challenges and uplift and motivate them and support them on their journey through life. So, Dr. Pat, we just want to thank you so much for being here because you're truly amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I am thrilled to be here because there's you can't talk enough about foundation and
True.
in going back to basics. It's hard to do. It's you just can't have enough words on a regular basis and self-talk to be able to do those things. And when you have the ability to, when you have the ability to take pause, you said the word pause, which I think is pause is powerful. I think that'd be like a great tagline. Because, when you step back from something and you walk away from it and then come back to it, it might look a little bit different.
True.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, we have a tendency to be reactive as opposed to proactive.
Right.
And that's something that we have to really take a piece of and time to take a look at, and how can I do that better?
Right. That is it. You're right. You're so right. You're right. Sorry. You could continue. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing is that when mistakes happen, it's just they're just mistakes. They're not the end of the world. And when you get into look at, I just made a big faux pas tonight because I forgot to connect my stream to our audience tonight on my side. So I'll be posting this after the fact, right? But it's not the end of the world. You keep moving forward.
True.
And if you just because there isn't another choice. And if you create that so that it isn't another choice, you just keep moving forward. And you find the people who support you, who have your back, and you hang out with those people, and people who don't support you, they're toxic. See you later, and keep them at arm's distance, because they suck your energy and they suck your good nature. And it's really hard to, every time you you're take 2 steps forward, someone's knocking you down. It's just those people you don't want around. You want people who uplift you. And that, because after you're around them, you don't feel like you need to take a shower. It's just something really simple, or else there's people's houses, you go and they're not feng shui per se, so when you go into people's houses, you're kind of thinking like, well, I put that over there and I put that there, and it's just like feels really congested or it feels claustrophobic, and it's just like, and you can't wait to leave because you're never comfortable. There's other people's houses that, if you go in, you're thinking like, wow, I could just stay here. Like lay down and take a nap on the couch and people are like, oh, isn't that lovely? That you're able to feel so comfortable, that you have the ability to do that in some people's houses. It's really great. Those are the people you want to hang out with, for sure. And those are the ones that uplift us the most. And that person that tells you,
I'm so glad you touched on that.
Pardon?
I said, I'm so glad you touched on that piece. Sorry to interject, but I don't want to miss it because I'm so glad you touched on feng shui and the essential and how important that is for us to make sure that our environment is always inviting and it's always easy to navigate it. When we enter a home, it's a sense of peace, it's our sanctuary. So dive a little bit deeper than that and how essential that is for all of us to focus on that.
Okay. Are you an East house or a West house? Do you know?
I'm an East.
East, we are. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a West house, but I bet you I'm 6 feet tall. We make balance then,
Yeah.
It's just like have one on either side of you. But but when you do that and you find like you could feel your energy together, it's everything's frequency. Everything has a frequency to it. Every outer valence, an electron and a proton and a neutron, we're made of electrons, protons, neutrons, and we're made of, all these cells, and they all function on that really minute level. So it's just like your energy flows where your mind goes.
Sure.
Right. We know that, for sure. Yeah. So it's good. I love to see diversity, and I like to see people resolve those diversity things. That it's just like, because you have that crazy curly hair, and that red color. It's just like people like, give big bucks to have that color, and growing your hair long, and it's just like everyone has their personality.
Yeah, we all do. That's true.
And it's just like we should be thankful for, like, and that's why you say grace, before you eat, and you bless your food and bless the people who are there, and it's a really good start to that one piece that you called life, and doing it like in a way that's very comfortable too. You also, there's a technique I know that that I teach my clients, and like when they're hitting adversity. Like I had this woman who I taught this technique to. She went to work. Some guy was, harassing her, and she just turned around and she said it verbally. She went, freeze, and just to push his energy back. And I said, you don't have to say it out loud, by the way, but it's just like, you have a receiving. You have this feeling. If you're aware of your intuitiveness, you receive on one side and you like give out on the other side. And so if you know what that is, then what happens is that when you could do that, you just freeze people who, because I think a big problem we have is that we have a lot of, we're so empathetic that we let toxic people too close to our heart, and too close to our mind, and then we don't have enough strong character to and we let one thing go, then you let the next thing go. The next thing you got 5 years, underneath you, and you look, like 20 years older because you've been in the wrong environment. And we all know people who we have friends, we've all maybe have it's happened to us. Like when I got divorced, someone said to me, oh my God, you look so hayward. And I just said, gee, thanks. That's like, really? Like, wow, thanks for telling me that and sharing that with me. So that's something that you can always say when someone says something. You choose to be offended. Being offended is a choice. It's just like, what did I say to him? I go, thanks for sharing that with me. And then push breathes that energy out. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
nice. So like, and Karma paid him back when he got divorced. He didn't look too good either. So it's stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those things are stressful, and stress takes away from your life. There's good stress and there's bad stress. The stress that, really, takes that, and it brings out sometimes the worst part of our personality. You could be the most wonderful person in the world. If you're around the wrong person, people are like, wow, what a weirdo, or like whatever, in their head, or maybe they actually say it. But having that, when you have that foundation, in your personality and that strong character, nothing can disturb your peace of mind, and peace of mind is
Sure.
priceless. Right.
Sure.
I say that all the time. Peace of mind is priceless. And, you want to be places that, that you can sleep when you lay down in bed at night, you can sleep. Yeah.
That is so, that is super, super important. And
Yes.
I'm so glad you touch on that. Your peace.
Well, the sleep part of it, last week I told you that I was doing this drink, right, with cider
Right.
vinegar. And the big thing I noticed from last week to this week is that when I put my head down to go to sleep, I sleep all night long.
Wow.
I don't wake up. I won't wake up until my alarm goes off in the morning now. And that's been like a good 7 days now. And I'm psyched about that. I mean, it's not that I can get up in the middle of the night and come back and lay down and, go to sleep and like almost immediately anyway. But I found an interesting app that's very helpful for people. And I can give it to you as soon as I find my telephone. It's a really interesting app, and it's free, by the way. They do ask for a donation for using it, but it's called Smiling Mind.
Smiling mind.
Smiling Mind. It looks like this. Can you see if I get close enough?
Yeah. Yes.
That one there. And on my screen here, it's purple with black brain.
Wow.
And with a smile face in the brain. But it's really, this isn't coming soon. But anyway, it's really, it's the smiling, like Smiling Mind. I've been using it. And there's like, I'm going, where did I find? Because I did it one night that I had, I wanted to listen to music while I was sleeping.
Right.
And I finally, and I found it. It took me 2 days to find it again, because it's not that it's hidden. It's just the way that they have the app set up. But the whole app's free, and I found it very enlightening and it's been a really cool, like when I get up in the morning or when I go to sleep at night, or if I take, a nap in the afternoon, that type of thing. Do you guys take naps?
No. we take walk outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do during the day. We take walk outdoors, and it's so beautiful, and especially now. When you're in spring, you got to say a few days away, but the weather is so beautiful, and it's just beautiful to get out there. The trees, the sky, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had some really crazy weather up here. It's been really cold in the morning, but today got up to 70. Up here in the Finger Lakes, so it's like, and people's moods are so much better when the sun's out. It's like amazing. Let the sun come out, and put its rays on my back. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the sun. I was born in the summer, and I always think when people like, what's your favorite time of year? It's usually when you're born, and I like the summer because I like hot. It's like I like heat, but I get hot, because people move then. It makes you more lively. And you people, you think about, you have like outside parties, you cook together more, you think there's outside concerts that people go to and where they congregate, and when they do that, it's uplifting. Music is uplifting.
Yes.
It is.
Can you share a moment when you successfully apply this principle to a challenging situation?
That's a good question.
Wow. You're putting me on the spot. I will tell you, I have this thing in this card in my car, and I'll send a copy of it to you. I'll make a copy of it tomorrow. And it says, no matter what's in front of me, it's basically saying that I know the universe has my back.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
When,
Beautiful.
I have encountered I don't think about having those kind of encounters necessarily. Like if somebody's, upset, I get into them a little bit because I'm in an office, where there's a lot of new personality for me, and there's a woman that's a couple people, I just don't jive with their personality, and it was just fine. That's why you have no doctor, and so, but, and you got to, and when I think about those, yeah, when it's like the people who always get the parking place right at the front door, right? I mean, we all know those kind of people and that, but it'd be really great, if you can manifest it yourself on a regular basis. Right. And so all you got to do is just visualize it. Do you visualize?
We're very big on that.
Right. So it's just like you're going, the parking place. I mean, the parking place got us. And when, and like I recently, it was last weekend, I went to go get tires on my car and they were supposed to have had them on. And so when I go to pick it up and this guy says to me, "Hey, Dr. Pat." And he goes, "You're going to love your Cooper tires." And I just said, "Cooper tires?" And I said, "I didn't order Cooper tires." And he said, "Oh," and I said, "No." And I said, the person, he ordered like special tires for my car that I like. They put on the wrong ones. And so I just laughed. I said, "Well," I said, "You have the right ones." and I said, "Because now you get to go back and do it again."
Right.
They were incredibly pleasant, but I think if you're incredibly pleasant too, it helps create that momentum going forward.
So true.
And they were so nice about it, is that they didn't charge me for them.
There you go.
That's like something, it's just like, that was amazing, and the service manager called me up. "I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah." And she called me up again today. How's the tires, driving? Are you happy with them? I'll do anything you need to do to make it right for you. And people bend over backwards for you when you don't, because I could have been out of my body in like 2 seconds, and it could not have been a good situation, maybe, right? But they're just very nice. I mean, they even had some guy who or somebody there, had a greasy hand and put it on my steering wheel. And they told me, this is funny. They said, "Well, do you think, he goes, it's probably lotion from your hand." I said, "Well, if that's the case, it'd be on the other side of the steering wheel too."
Okay.
I mean, when we think logically, and for people who are trying to placate us, and you think logically, and you ask a question just in a very, a very helpful, very light way, then I'm saying, I said, "You think that," I go, "putting lotion, I can put lotion on just one hand?" I don't think so. You got to have the other hand to like rub it in. But their logic, the cool thing about is our logic in some of those things. A lot of times people just, go like, "Okay." I don't want people to go, "Okay."
Right.
I want people to say, "That's not right. So what are we going to do to make it correct?" Because in speaking up for ourselves is also a form of self-care and self-love.
Yes.
It's learning those things that you can say, "Well, tell me more about that." So instead of being reactive, it's like, "Oh, our podcast, we were late." It's just like, you could be upset about it, or you could say "Okay, let's go with the flow." Right. And it's just like, so if you're, and it's like that with almost everything. And it also, if you're there's a thing called Einstein's time. Did I ever tell you about Einstein's time? It's so cool. Are you familiar with it?
Tell us for us.
In this book called The Big Leap. And I don't remember the author's name. He talks about how people keep on sabotaging themselves and they don't get any place, and they keep on going and they keep on hitting the same wall again, or they have the same kind of circumstances, or they have the same kind of relationships, and they keep on picking the wrong things. And he calls it hitting the ceiling. But he talks about at some point in time, when you know that's coming, and if you know what to do, and if you know how to get in your vibe, you're in your groove, in your, what, Abraham Hicks calls, in your, what does she call it? There's something, I can't remember what she calls it, but being in your spirit and in yourself. Then what happens is you're in Einstein's time, because in Einstein's time is totally, it's not stationary, it's constantly moving. And if you miss your opportunity, there'll be more time, but not the time that you missed. Right. So he talks about Einstein's time, and what it is like when you're in your vibration, in your acting as your higher self, then special things around you happen. So, and those special things, he gave an example in the book about this guy whose wife passed away, and his daughter wanted to come home and say, I need to talk to you. And he goes, well, can we talk on the phone? She said, no, I'm going to come home. Well, he was trying to write an article, this guy. And we all can relate to this. If you have kids, you can relate to this, right? They have, so she's coming home. She decides to get something to eat. So she stays and gets something to eat. Then she gets a phone call. So she's about an hour late than what he expects her to be home. Now he's pacing. He doesn't want to call her because he doesn't want to make her feel bad, because he doesn't know what she's going to talk to him about. But he's presuming all these things. We talked about it, Karen, in the very beginning, about when we make assumptions about like what's going on and that. So here comes his daughter in the front door, and he goes, oh my God, are you okay? I can just say it. And she said, I am. And he said, you're running late. And she goes, oh, I stopped to get gasoline, then decided to get something to eat. And then I had a phone call, and I didn't want to talk and drive at the same time. And she goes, but I'm here now. And, he's just going and he had this like kind of big relief, because he already just had a big loss. So he was, projecting into that situation. And all she wanted to talk to him about, because he thought it was going to be something major, like, but didn't know what the major was. So he was getting gray hair. And he couldn't work. He was trying to get his, he had a deadline for his article. And she's telling him, she goes, well, all I wanted to do, Dad, I don't want to go. I can't stay in my program. I'm in school. I want to drop out. And he goes, that's it? You want to drop out? Drop out. And the thing that was cool about the story is that then when he did that, he got back into his own vibe and his own energy. And he wrote this article in record time. And those things, it's not just available for someone like that. That's available for everybody. It's being open to that and having people around you that can show you a way into that.
True.
Right?
What advice can you give to someone who finds it very hard to adopt this mindset?
Well, first off, they have to have a little success. I mean, a lot of people they're like, oh, manifestation doesn't work for me, and it's like, well, of course it doesn't. You have to think about how your verbiage and what you're saying to the universe, but you always get exactly what you need, and the universe never gives you more than what you can handle. So if you're going through a bunch of stuff, you better believe that you're a very strong person, because you wouldn't have all those things going on if you weren't a strong person. But if you can master them and put them in a compartment or in a particular place so that you can, embrace it, going like, okay, adversity, come on. I'm your girl. Come on, bring adversity on to me. Because then you can step past it and you're going, oh, I know what that is. And then you don't take it on. Because when you take on all that energy, it's got to go somewhere, and it's going to settle someplace in your body. And that's what makes you unhealthy. Those are your thoughts, that you have. And you don't want to have, that. So the advice I would have is just like, look for little things, and the Sonia Koche wrote a book about vibration, our soul vibration. It's a mini program, that she talks about. And, and she gives you like this little homework every day, like every week to do. I mean, and the thing to take away from a book like that is like, okay, so can I do this? And the thing that my biggest advice is that when you have a win, you celebrate it. And then you continually do something consistently so that you keep on having those same successes all the time. So if you want to be successful, there's successful people who can mentor you, out there that can change your trajectory from your health, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, so that you talked about it, Joan, about having, all these aspects of, the, like the mind, the body, and the soul, and having them in a happy place. Things aren't always 100%. The basis for, success is mindset and health. And you have to have a robust health and robust mindset. Doesn't mean they're going to both be 100%.
Right.
And if you want something, you figure it out.
Sure.
And if you figure it out, then you'll find the right people along the way. And so and like even in doing like these podcasts that I do, someone said, wow, you've done 250 of them. I said, I have, but I love doing them. And I love sharing knowledge, and I just think that there's so many gifts that you can give people, and that all you're doing is you're planting a seed, and then you have to water the seed, and you got to water it with the right kind of water, with the right kind of food, so the seed grows, because where your mind goes, your body follows. And they say in Chinese that the heart houses the mind, and the mind houses the soul, and then your eyes are the windows to the soul.
Right.
I hope that answered your question.
Wow.
Yeah, you did.
that was so powerful, because I think you have to really know, you spoke about a lot of things, which is the importance that how you can, first you got to have the right kind of people who you're surrounded by. First you have to know who you are. First of all, your self-awareness is so important,
Yes.
because if you don't know who you are and not loving yourself enough, then how can you look for something else outside of yourself and know what it is and move forward from there, as you mentioned, to move on your trajectory and to soar in life and achieve all the greatness that you desire to have. So talk to someone tonight who say, Dr. Pat, I know you guys are talking all about this stuff, but my life is chaotic. Nothing seemed to go right. I tried everything. What is one thing that you could say to them where to start from?
Well, I would tell them to do something pretty woo, because it doesn't hurt. And so, I learned from this old sage woman on Cape Cod when I first moved there. I told her I had this migraine headache for like a week and a half, and I couldn't get rid of it. And she was 54 years old. She was naturally had black hair, and she was maybe like 5'7", 8, and she was this big, and she comes over my house, and she brings a bowl of like a romaine lettuce or spinach or something like that, and a bottle of olive oil. And she said, and then she lights the sage stick, because the sage stick was to clean the energy in the house, and she ran around my house. I was laughing so hard. I was laughing so hard that my headache went away. And so, but she did the sage stick, like, if you're a good spirit, you can stay. If you're a bad spirit, get the heck out of here. Move. And she went from each room kind of doing one of those acts. I don't even know if those were the exact words, but that was the intention of it. And, I never had a head again.
Wow.
So I just thought, I love her craziness. And, it's just like, if it works, it worked. And, and then, and we have those things. Sometimes we feel like, like in a room, we feel like very drawn in and icky. The way to to take the little step out in the chaotic, find something that's not chaotic, like a hot bath. Use some essential oils, in the bath water. You can use like lavender. People like lavender and lemon. You can use a little bit of frankincense. You can use myrrh. You can use, other, like something that appeals to you. Vanilla sometimes is too overpowering for the brain, so I recommend very minute. But you can put, it's just like you can use a little bit of like hydrogen peroxide in the water, and it's just like, because when you pour the hydrogen peroxide in, it gives extra oxygen. to the air because hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. So when it hits water,
Right.
it breaks and it becomes water and extra oxygen. You're not drinking it, but you're like able to soak in it,
Yeah.
light some candles, it's just like, and do something that's a win. It's just like if when I left this morning, I figured I had all sorts of time because I had an extra 15 minutes before I had to actually just patients this morning. So I went into a store and I decided I go, oh, I need this. And I got all sorts of time. I have a half hour in the store. All of a sudden I looked up at the clock and I had like 10 minutes to get there. And I was 20 minutes away. And the weird thing was is that I got there exactly when the first person pulled in.
Wow.
And it's just like, and so I just thought, okay, it's going to be one of those days. it's like, go with it. But it's beautiful because, we forget just to stop. I mean, read scripture, read a book, get up 15 minutes early in the morning and read something or listen to something to center yourself. And then, do another woo-woo thing, like, pull white light around you, and then push it away from you so that you don't attract that negativity. And people who are that negative aren't going to want to be around you because you are so positive.
Yes.
And those are just things that, I've seen work for people who do that. Play music. Music is like medicine. Not heavy metal. I mean, but, it's just like, but play music that is, that has a good vibration to it because you have vibrations. The vibration of love is like 538 or something like that. And the frequency scale, and you can play things that are in alpha. So when you're going to sleep, you can play binaural beats that are in alpha. And it actually just says it. So if you look up alpha binaural beats, you'll come up with a whole list. If you don't like what you're listening to, change it. I mean, it's easy, it's just like, you're not forced to listen to the whole 40 minutes or fall asleep to something that you don't want to fall asleep to. And that, and then, when you hydrate, it like cleanses your mind, it cleanses your body, it cleanses your joints, it helps your heart work, it helps your lungs especially work, and it helps get rid of toxins in your system. That's why I think showers are so powerful. Like after you have a run-in, like a bad day, what do people usually do? They go take a shower. It makes them feel good because you're washing off that energy that's incongruent to your higher state. Because we're all geniuses. Everybody is a genius. It's just finding how to tap into your genius. So like, what do you do well? Make a whole list of what is it that you do well. It's a very, I just think that there's a lot of opportunity that we miss because something happens, we go, it's like someone like socked us in the gut, you just like that energy back and go, thanks for sharing that with me, and smile and you walk on. It absolutely kills them, makes them go crazy. And only who's in your tribe and who and who's not in it. And that, so that is that's a one piece to really do. And if you're into AI, you can put all your hopes and dreams that you want to achieve into AI, and you can ask AI to this is my dream day, create a plan for me to be able to achieve this in 6 months. Or 8 months, or like how long will it take me to do this, and give me a plan like day by day what I need to do. I do that to make my schedule. So I just thought that right now because I think I do it to like 8 o'clock, at 8:10 do this, at 8:30, and it gives you kind of a schedule to go by to do that. And I know if you have kids, everything's out the window, but there's things that you can do. You can go look at something beautiful, and you can become one with that beauty, and that, because that will, and you'll attract more of that, because what you think about, where your mind goes, your body follows. You'll attract many more things like that, to happen in your life. How beautiful is that? Then we can go to a retreat someplace, and with your tribe, and and experience that. It's just like that would be a great thing to do. You can go to, down to Dominican Republic. You can go like up here, to the Finger Lakes. There's things that you can do to elevate and stay on that path.
Wow.
Wow.
That is so much a tools
That
you
is
give
so,
us, Dr. Pat.
It's like really
that
called
is so
channeling or something
beautiful.
like that, I
Wow.
think.
So much of tools you give to us in that short explanation that you just give to us, and it's to help us to really understand that there are simple things that we can do for ourselves to help ourselves,
Mhm.
and I'm going to shift gear a little bit here. Let's go to workplace dynamics. How can leaders foster a workplace culture where people feel less inclined to take things personally?
Well, I think they first have to be, I think as a whole, I mean, including the workplace, people take things too close to heart,
Yes.
and it's just like, it isn't about them. And like you mentioned before too, in the very beginning, about people who are like losing it, right? And they try to make you their fault. It's called scapegoating. And
True.
scapegoating is like, uh, oh my God. Um, I can see the front of the book's yellow. um, the, but when you scapegoat, you're blaming somebody else for your own misgivings.
Right.
Right. And it's just like, and so when someone does that, you just like, that's where you say, thanks for sharing that with me. But when you get into the workplace, and people have a tendency, I think, you have to like let something relax. I mean, if something like blows up, there was a situation in an office I was in, and this girl was so upset because she didn't think she was going to get out of work on time, and I said to her, it's not my fault. I said that I'm running late. And she goes, well, yes, it is, because you're doing the adjustment. I said, no, your boss is having me do one extra adjustment with each person that's coming in. So I'm supposed to do 2 adjustments in a time of 1. That doesn't work, And I said, so some things are going to last a little bit longer. And if you got a problem with it, leave. I'll do your job. You don't have to worry about it. Leave. And she was just, and then the person who hired me was there. And so I had a conversation with her, and I just said, like, I go, we're all here. It's like an all for one, one for all, and I said, now you know that there's a glitch in your environment. And then you know who the people are who are that part of that glitch, which have to be addressed. It's just like, what is it? What is it about this that bothers you? And it's like, if you don't like something, sometimes it's better just to keep your mouth shut, at the moment, until you get better information. Because we don't know what somebody, like, someone's husband, might have, shook somebody before they got to work. And so they don't have the attention span that everybody else has. There's a story I know from this guy, true story, about, this guy going to work, and they had this kind of hierarchy in there. And they kept on, this guy started to falter in his job, and they were like trying to help him out at first, but nobody ever asked him, what's going on in your life? And so they decided that they were going to fire him, at some point in time. And so when he came in that day to be fired, this guy, he just sat down and just started to cry. And they asked him, what are you crying for? And he goes, my wife's dying.
Wow.
So she was sick. So all the times he was late for work, was because he was staying there to make sure she was taken care of. So when they found that out, they restructured around so he could be able to do that and still keep his job. But if they fired him, it would have been such a huge misgiving, because they wouldn't have known why. So when people have that, going into the workplace, and that you got to like grow thicker skin. It's not about you, and anyway, and that's not what they're paying you for. They're paying you for to do a job. If someone has an attitude, then, it's kind of, you have to ask the person, it's like, hey, is there something going on? Maybe you don't want to hear it. And it's not your job to have to listen to everything either, so it's just, it's asking that, giving that bandwidth, but you should never be abused. But a lot of people mix up being abused with having just somebody else having a bad day and taking it on. So, it's just like you have to pretend you're your own work.
Yes.
There's things that happen in your life that aren't always perfect.
True.
But you can make them post perfect. Just because you can decide, if you're not good in like algebra, then maybe when I took algebra, I could have made it my best course, and then it would no longer be my hard course. Like chemistry was my hard course, and I made that my best course, and I ended up, doing really well in it because I focused on it. So where you're focused, your mind goes, and so does your body.
Wow.
Thanks. Wow. Wow.
A lot of information here. A lot of, yeah.
Somebody who might be looking, who started looking at the show earlier, when you had your bottle up and say, this is what you're drinking. Can you tell them what it is that you're drinking?
Sure.
And how it is helping you, and talk about that.
Well, it is, right now I had a little bit too much in here. Right now it's at 12 ounces. So what I've been doing is drinking 12 ounces of water a day with 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar in it. And it's organic cider vinegar. And water is pure. This water has no TDSs in it. And so I bought a zero water filter, that has a measure thing, and you put the water in. And so it, there's no flavor. This water tastes good. It doesn't taste like chlorine. Doesn't taste like, something from wherever, because sometimes water smells and everything like this. This doesn't do this. And the cider vinegar is in it because what the cider vinegar does, it's very helpful in eliminating toxins from your system. It helps your liver work better. It helps your gut work better. And because it raises the right kind of acid to help you digest your food better. So I always say to drink lemon juice and water when you eat dinner, or lemon juice and water every day, because it makes your body actually more basic, internally, even though it's an acid. And that doesn't mean you can't substitute oranges, by the way, and limes are a possibility, but the cider vinegar, helps, purify your blood. You do go, when it cleanses out your system, you want toxins when you eat to go into the toilet. So it either gets there through urine or it gets there through a bowel movement. And so when you eat food, and if your gut is damaged, and it's really easy to damage the gut, there's only one cell lining, then when those separations between the cells open up, it's called leaky gut. It's like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I said there's no such thing as leaky gut. Well, now they know that they lied to everybody. And so when you have those pieces that are open, then the foods that you eat can go into your body way too soon. And so because you need enzymes in order to digest your foods in certain places of your gut. And if you don't have those enzymes, then it starts to cause damage. And so when you absorb those supplementation, part of that, or the foods into your body, they have to go to your liver. And so the liver has to get rid of the toxins. It has so many jobs, but to get rid of the toxins, and then when you get rid of the toxins, it wants to get them out of the system. It wants to help get out of the body. So if it can't get them out of the body, it goes into the intestinal tract, and it goes into the toilet, or it goes to the kidney, the bladder, and then goes into the toilet. But the thing is that when you're having that cycle go on and the liver gets overwhelmed because we have so many toxins in our environment. If you're eating things like, high fructose corn syrup, you should never put it in your mouth. High fructose corn syrup, like in other sugars, then what happens is your body has to struggle with getting those toxins out of your system. And that sugar, will make the liver go sluggish. And when the liver can't handle that anymore, what it basically does, in English, is it stores all those toxins in blood, brain, bone, and fat. So like the heavy metals, the chemicals that you have, the cleaning chemicals, the gardening chemicals, all those things like that, and all the additives that are in your foods. It's just like we have to be, I think, a lot more mindful in this country about the foods that you're putting in your mouth, and, and making better choices with it. So So in that whole process, the idea of the cider vinegar and the water is to help the liver do its job better, because before diabetes starts, you have a fatty liver. And I just thought, I said, I've had friends of mine who've done this, and this doesn't have cayenne pepper or maple syrup or any of that crap in it. This is just water and cider vinegar. And, when I first did it, it's like, I'm going, I used to like cider vinegar. I don't think I like it anymore. That was on the first 2 days. But what I found is that when you do this and you drink it from a straw, it's so easy to drink 12 ounces. You can drink like at least 6 of them, like in one good slug, and do the other 6, but it's just so good for you. It's very cleansing, and also it's an easy way to lose weight. You don't do anything else, but that, but you have to eat clean foods. You got to move, if you don't move, grandma, my second patient said, if you don't move, you're going to die, so you got to move, and it will help you sleep. People are so sleep deprived in the United States. Right. I mean, but probably globally, but in the United States, I hear that all the time about, sleep, or like, you guys go hug a tree or go outside. I take a nap and then I'll get up. I'll take the nap. But I'm only like laying down like for 20, 30 minutes and I'm listening to a meditation tape. That helps rejuvenate me. So when it's like when you get to the count of 5, you're up, you're on it, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, but that's what this whole cider vinegar thing is all about. So if you look up, doing cider vinegar, the one thing you want to caution is that if you're taking, if you're on insulin, then you want to be careful. And you always, anything that, that we would say, like as a recommendation for a diet change or anything, you should always check with your healthcare provider.
Right, exactly.
Make sure that it's just like, can I do this? But and especially that's because it washes out the potassium, in your body. So you want to make sure that's where you put normally people put a pinch of salt, in their. My grandmother used to put in her coffee sometimes. And I remember that. I thought it was sugar. And she said, no. It's just like, she didn't eat it. We didn't eat sugar growing up. So but that is like that, like I love doing that, and I'm going to do it the whole month, so I'm on the 19th and I'll probably continue it after that, but I think the dose of, and also, if it's like, you have to like maybe titrate it. And titrating is like one day you do like 1 tablespoon, with the 12 ounces. And the next day you do 2 tablespoons, with the 12 ounces. And then you have the second one and the third one, you can like work that up. But when you start doing the 3 is where your day 1 starts. So I just jumped in, just jump in the fire and figure out how to get out. So after you're already in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's, I have tons of tips and pro tips and things like that for, getting out of bed, like be more productive. There's things, there's so many, there's so many things that people can do, but you have to know what they're willing to do. And you have to know, and the big question is, are you willing to do what it takes to be healthy?
Right.
Emotionally, spiritually, and socially. And eating foods, and we all know that depression and anxiety has a lot to do with the foods that we eat, and stop eating foods that you can't pronounce the ingredients. That's a simple one. And it's just like, when you look at some of the ingredients, you're thinking, what the heck is that anyway? And then you find out, like, you're like, wow, that's like, they use that as like a fire retardant. Wow. That's like, and I'm eating it. I don't care if it's like a certain, whatever the FDA says that, that's still safe for you, and it's just like, every human being is they don't have any bio identity with each other. Even in the same family, my sister and I did DNA, and that we have different statistics for the DNA, and we come from the same gene pool, so it's just how you're expressing, and you want to be able to express your epigenetics as best that you possibly can. So eat clean, smile, and and make somebody happy once a day. Just do something nice. Say thank you. For instance.
Yeah. I'm
Yes.
glad.
I mean, just
Yeah.
something really simple. It's like thank you. Open the door for somebody.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
simple. I mean,
And
there's
then
always
it don't cost you much.
So true.
It don't cost you
but
anything.
this does not cost hardly anything. It cost me $5 tonight for a bottle. I went to the co-op today and bought another bottle, and it cost me, like maybe like $2 a month or $3 a month for the filter. Ultimately, because the filters last about 3 months at max. And
Talk about a filter. What kind of filter that is?
Um, and if you look up zero water filters, like Amazon, you can usually get the 7 cup one for like just under $20. And there's 5 layers to that filter. So that has charcoal in it, has other things in it. But the 5 filter, when you buy a water filter, like Brita, I'm sorry, does not have the 5 filter system. So you want to make sure you're going, well, I already got one, but does it have five layers of filtration that it goes through in order for the water to come out, because it has to collect those solids and toxins in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like, so that's like, if you look up zero water filter on Amazon, it should be like wherever you're at, it should be around $20. And it's easy. It's a countertop one, and it's easy if you go on vacation, you can take it with you. You don't have something big to lug around, and it's like, and it's good for now. It's not good forever, because I think that people should have reverse osmosis in their house. That would be a better water filter system. But and you want to drink water as close to pH of 7 possible. And it's just, so that's easy. Just put lemon juice in your water, because it helps you collect micronutrients. It helps you absorb your foods a lot better, which is the same thing that cider vinegar does too. So but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's why we love you so much. Oh my.
Wow, this evening you have really unfolded and enriched us with a lot of information. We kind of like really mix things up and blend things up this evening a lot.
Thank
But
God
it's
we
just
got a
all
blender. Then we can. It's even easier to do.
yeah, and it's all about helping. It's sharing information and to help us as individuals how we can really live a holistic lifestyle. Because no matter where we go, we're gonna meet challenges, and how we're gonna handle these challenges. Every day you step out, you're gonna meet some challenge. And how are you built and prepared to handle these challenges? That is why it is super important that before you start your day, you recharge yourself. You find a modality that can really help you to bring you to that state of self-awareness. So when you step into your office or you step outside, you can always step back, pause, and look at a situation before you really get entangled into that situation. Because many times we get entangled into situations, and then when we walk away, we are so sorry we even ever exchange energy in that situation. So find a modality to recharge yourself every day, and so that when you show up in whatever space you have to show up in, at work or even in your home, when you got to show up in spaces, you are fully equipped for those spaces. And it's only you can do it. You have the choice. And as Dr. Pat said, you can start your day 15 minutes before. You get up early 15 minutes before, and then you refuel yourself, you fill yourself up, so you're ready to go. Because every day when we go out, we are pouring so much into humanity. We are pouring so much. But are you taking the time to pour into yourself? Are you taking those few minutes to stop and pour into yourself? As Dr. Pat was saying, she takes a nap during the day. So find something that you can do to pour into yourself every day. Because Every day you're going to meet something that is going to be challenging you. And there is where you got to not take things personally, because as we said, we don't know what the next person is going through, what experiences they're going through at this point in time, and many times we are quick to judge. Like Dr. Pat was sharing a story just now with a gentleman and his wife was sick. He's showing up at work, but he was not himself. So sometimes you may say something to that individual and they may be triggered, but we don't know what he's going through emotionally, or that individual is going through emotionally. So sometimes we really got to step back and show empathy, on situations, and really think about that person, or even ask them, can I help? Is there something that you're going through, before we really respond? So we really got to re-examine how we really handle situations, and not take things personally. John?
Wow. You
You know,
served us well.
you
You served us so well.
You have a Marcia Thomas Powell who said something interesting, because she's just like, sometimes you have your friends are, I think sometimes your friends are closer than your family sometimes.
Yes.
And so, and then she made a comment about, like having to, pick and choose, like, is it worth it?
True.
Is it worth it? It's just like, and sometimes it's just easier, it's just my sanity is more important than anybody.
True.
And if it's going to affect my level of sanity, then I'm going to figure out exactly what I need to do in order to keep my sanity. And that is because my sanity is precious to me. So, love that, that Marcia Thomas at Powell, made that comment, because that's very quite true. That's a perception, or like perspective to take in account, especially if you come from a large family.
Yeah.
And such little smaller families. My friends that have come from like one child only, type things, don't have that dynamics. But then I think the big families are a hell of a lot of fun. It's just like there's that dynamic there for holidays and everything else like that. It's just like
right.
Party in yourself. But we're really blessed though to be able to have the ability to work off a platform like this, to share ideas, and and hopefully, my goal is to share something that makes somebody go like, identify with it, and then they identify with it, then they have an opportunity to go run with it. They don't have to do everything.
Right.
Just do one thing, like the rule of one, right? Just do one thing, so like I hope everyone got, something out that they could take home and share with somebody else.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Marcy, for that. Yeah, you're so right, Dr. Pat. And that's the beauty about you, because you're all about helping others to find solution, helping people to find solution, because you may be confronted with a moment, or you may encounter a moment, but what do I do in the moment? If it's something, how do I choose to respond, or do I not respond at all? Because as Dr. Marcy saying, does it really matter? Does it really matter for me to respond to that?
One of the things that you have to ask yourself when you get really irritated with somebody, it's just like, is what they did or what you perceive that they did forgivable? And if it's forgivable, you're just like, sure, you can change your relationship with them, but you can still forgive, because when you forgive on that level, then you're free.
Yes.
True. That is so true.
Yes,
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. That is so profound.
Then you're free.
True.
For sure.
That's so profound.
God,
Because
we had fun tonight.
We all want
We did.
We did. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
We did have a lot of fun this evening, and
thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and uplifting us, motivating us, and inspiring us how we should really live life and enjoy life. Don't forget to get center and balance, pausing, eating the right kind of food, looking at a clean water, clean eating. Because at the end of the day, we all want to have that healthier lifestyle. We want to have the level of vitality that we can soar and move on that trajectory and to achieve all the things that we want to receive in life. But we got to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And not only taking care of ourselves, how our attitude, our tone, how we deal with people, and those are things that so much matter because as you spoke about peace and to move lighter and letting go and freedom so that you can have the level of clarity. You talk about feng shui and your environment, how you're navigating your home, that you can have that level of peace in your home that is welcoming, that I can't wait to get home because it's my sanctuary. I'm quiet, I'm rejuvenated. I have the level of clarity. It's my oasis, is my space. And when friends comes over or whatever, they can feel that peace as well because the energy that is in that space is awesome.
Mm-hmm. You are lucky
So,
girls to be sisters.
thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank you for
thank
saying
you,
that. Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
And
So
to the audience, we just want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's so beautiful to read all of these comments and to come into this space because we get to share. This is a community where we can share, and you can share and you can be seen and heard at the set time. So it's such a beautiful space that we created here for you. And don't forget to share us out. Don't forget, if this is your first time, a very special welcome. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul, Light, and Body, that you will never miss none of these episodes. And also, we got a masterclass coming up. You're going to get more information as we go along in the coming days, I should say. And you're welcome to register for that masterclass because when you leave from that masterclass, you will never be the same. There's so many things that we have packed for you. You will never be the same. And also, we want to thank the people on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn for always supporting us. Always supporting us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. And don't forget to join us on Sunday on an enrichment of mind, body, and soul. We got another great topic, another fabulous guest is going to join us there. So don't forget to tune in. And don't forget to subscribe also for our digital and our hard copy magazine. It's free. We do it for you. So don't forget to subscribe. That every month you can receive this beautiful magazine. So don't forget. It's a lot of good stuff for you. Don't forget. Have a fabulous rest of the week.
I think Dr. Patton wanted to say something before.
Dr. Pat, you get some words before you leave?
Say something before you leave.
good night.
I like that. That's a really good one. Good night. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Pat,
you.
for gracing us with your
Dr.
presence
Pat.
this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.